Welcome to Mobile Presence, your destination for everything mobile. I'm your host, as always, Peggy Ann Saltz, mobile analyst, tech consultant, senior at Forbes writer, and founder at Mobile Groove, and bringing you today Reimagine Growth, our special mini-series on retention marketing powered by CleverTap, headquartered in Mountain View, California, with offices in Mumbai, Singapore, Dubai. CleverTap is a modern integrated retention cloud that empowers digital consumer brands to increase customer retention and lifetime value. And as I said, every 2 weeks, we bring you tips and advice from marketers at major consumer brands who trust CleverTap to achieve retention and engagement goals. And today, we're going to hear about how you can encourage creators to create. A little bit of a twist there, because it's all about getting your messaging right to drive frequent interaction and connection. And we're looking at a social app that is, well, I would say you excel at driving the 3 C's that I'll call connection, community, and conversations over there at YouNow. My guest is the head of product at YouNow, Rory Geoghegan. You are at YouNow, and it's a very interesting live streaming app. I was taking a look at it. Tell me a little bit about that, because it's like Twitch with a twist, maybe, can I say?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like you said, YouNow is a live streaming platform. I think we really focus on community, as you say, and it's really for anyone looking to come and meet people, join a community and get really involved, and it's all through the medium of live streaming. It's
coming on strong. I mean, you have an app, you provide a web experience, 50 million registered users. Probably that's an old number. Probably it's more. What's the user experience like? I mean, we said it's different from other platforms. What is it, and who's your audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different from other platforms in the sense that we really try to make it very easy to use. You know, unlike some other streaming platforms out there where you might require like a high-end PC or gaming PC or third-party software to get started, YouNow is really sort of an out-of-the-box experience, right? So you just need sort of a laptop, a webcam, or your mobile device, and you can download the app and visit our website and get started instantly. So it's a really sort of low barrier entry platform.
And you're head of product. I mean, this is your baby.
Yes.
Tell me about it. You know, share some of the steps that you've designed into it, because there's a journey in creating the product as there is for me as a user and using it.
Yeah, I mean, it's YouNow is a pretty complicated platform, and there's a lot to it. But I think for us, like the journey and the user journey, especially for us, the key thing is that new user experience. That's a part that we spend a lot of time focusing on and a lot of our attention on. So improving that onboarding and having really strong communication with the user in those early stages for us is really critical.
So tell me a little bit about that, because onboarding is really critical. I mean, get it right, and you can educate people to get the most out of the app experience. You can encourage them to share. It's so essential to get that right, and everyone is talking about how to get it right. So what's a top tip for marketers listening in when it comes to onboarding?
Yeah, obviously it differs from platform to platform, and there's different things, but I think something that's really important is understanding what your users are expecting, what's motivating them, why do they come to your platform in the first place? Because if you can understand that, then you can make sure you're giving them that in that first experience, that first day, making sure they're getting that. So I think understanding your users, where they're coming from, if you can work that out, the rest will sort of follow.
Okay, so you're getting that from the data. You're seeing that, the sources that brought you the new users. You sort of understand. You're thinking about your cohorts. That's more marketing, your product. So let's stay on product. We won't go there because cohorts is not your space. It's really tough, and we won't go down in the weeds. But it is interesting because product is marketing. Everyone says, there's a certain flow. There's a certain experience that gets creators to create. Because they're not born that way. You have to make them. You have to motivate them. Tell me a little bit about the experience and the encouragement you provide to get creators to create.
Yeah, it is definitely a challenge to get creators, to start creating and then also continue to create. It's not easy to jump on a camera and start performing and broadcasting to the world. So one of the tactics and tools we use in the product to help motivate that behavior is sort of gamifying the experience. So, an example of that on YouNow is we have a pretty in-depth leveling system. and that we use to sort of help get our streamers and our users in general to continue to use the platform and improve their broadcasting skills.
So gamifying, so that's like a little bit of, oh, you're contributing, so you're going to get maybe some status points or some high fives, whatever. Tell me about that, because that's really exciting, and it's built into the platform, so it comes naturally. It feels like this is the way it needs to be, and it's a flow that you've built. I'd love to hear more about that. Unpack that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very sort of deliberately designed system, and basically how it works on YouNow is just by participating, whether it's streaming yourself or being a viewer in an audience and chatting, you're always earning experience points, and those experience points are contributing towards your level on the system. And then with your level, you're unlocking different things like rewards and perks, such as in-app currency or exclusive gifts that you can send to other streamers. And I think the most valuable thing you're getting with that system is the status of the level, which is really interesting because if you see a level 250 on the platform, you can really quickly understand that they're very experienced on the platform and they have a lot of respect within the community.
But of course, you also have to have prompts, nudges, notifications, whatever you want to call them, that conversation that says, hey, we're here. Why don't you share? Maybe you haven't thought about sharing today, or maybe you haven't thought about sharing recently. That's part of the flow as well. That's part of the product mechanics. Tell me a little bit about what works when you're trying to nudge someone and not feel like you're nudging them.
Yeah, I think it's, I think when it comes to those sort of things, it has to be highly personalized and contextual. So if the user doesn't value, for example, if you're trying to get someone to share something, they have to want to share it, right? You can nudge them all you want, but if it's not something they're interested in sharing, they're not going to share it. So making sure that it's personal and it's valued by the user, I think is really important when you're trying to get them to sort of give them that nudge.
What's a no-go? I'm just curious. What is it that maybe you've learned? And it doesn't have to be that like it's an insulting no-go. It can just be like a no-go as in doesn't work, leave it better. Let's spare our listeners a little bit of trial and error here. Is there a no-go here? Or does everything go as long as it's just personal and well-meant?
Things that are not in the interest of the user are a no-go. Spamming users with prompts and things like that is a no-go for sure. So keeping it relevant and personalized, I think, is just always the key.
So I'm just curious in that personalization, what level of personalization is that? Because different marketers are at different levels. We're all past the point that we think putting your name in the first line is personalization. That's not personalization. That's table stakes. But could you just elaborate a little bit around what personalization is in practice? Because again, it has to be personal. I'm also hearing a lot about how it needs to be sort of individual and predictive, and as if you are sitting next to me and tapping me on the shoulder and saying, hey, how about this? So how are you approaching that?
Yeah, I think personalize is also what type of user you are and where you are in your journey as a user. So an example that we sort of use on the platform is sending things like a weekly broadcasting summary is an example of that personalization. So yes, we have your name on it, but we also sort of give you a lot more information there that is relevant to where you are in your journey as a streamer. So we find that a really sort of motivating factor in terms of getting people to stream, but it's also highly personalized. So I think that's a really good example.
So one point about gamification is interesting that you assume that it's like a Gen Z thing or some other segment. What kind of segments, what's your audience, and how are they responding to gamification? Is it something like a universal here?
Yeah, I mean, so we definitely have sort of a younger demographic when it comes to our users, but I think the gamification is it's motivating for all demographics. We have found. We think about it less about the demographic as such and more the cohort of the user. Are they a spender? Are they a supporter? Or are they a broadcaster? Or are they just a lurker and a viewer? And so we have different sort of systems that service those sort of three cohorts.
So you have a number of segments. Do you weigh in on how many segments is there a limit, I want to say, or a perfect number? Should you try no more than 5, or just trying to understand, again, the practical side of segmentation and how many buckets you really want to put your new users into?
It really depends on what you're trying to achieve at the time. So we sort of have a high level view where we sort of probably stick to those 3 segments. But then within those segments, we often will dive deeper when we're really trying to get in deep with what we're trying to solve. So I think you can have multiple different views of your segments, and some more granular than others.
One is the motivation to create, but there are many platforms that also really make it worth your while. I'm just not clear, and I wanted to be very clear on how you monetize your app, how you encourage your audience. Is there some real or virtual currency going on here? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So on YouNow, all streamers have the ability to actually earn real money. So that is a huge motivating factor when it comes to getting our creators to stream regularly. And the way that works, all of that revenue is coming from, or all that, those earnings for those partners is coming from their fans, their viewers. So in YouNow, that comes through the form of virtual gifts. So you can send a streamer a virtual gift, and you'll send that with in-app currency that you purchase through YouNow. And then that revenue and that money is going towards that streamer to support them and allow them to continue doing what they do best.
And you also give them that feedback loop as well. So when we talk about how do you get creators to create, I'm getting a summary. It's saying, hey, this is, your milestones, and you did really well here, and your content was, well received. And I just have this feedback loop that I don't often have with other platforms to understand, okay, how do I really up my game?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've spoken to a lot of our broadcasters, and they are extremely motivated people. They want to get better. And so we're just there to give them the tools to help them track that and improve their skills.
Any sort of peek into those tools, I wonder? Because, every one of us is a budding videographer now, but we don't have the tools. We don't have the tech. We don't always know, but we know we want to. Is there some other tools, tutorial, making it just a little bit easier?
Yeah, so we offer in our sort of support center a lot of tips and guides and how to just improve yourself as a streamer in terms of setup and things like that. So just sort of more general tips. But in terms of within the product, one thing we do offer is a complete sort of broadcast analytics page and dashboard that we allow users to track every single stream that they do, and see all the stats for those streams, and actually view it on a monthly view and see that they are actually improving in different aspects of their streaming.
That is pretty cool. That is actually very cool. And I can imagine you have some budding sort of producers and personalities in there. Is there anything you could share? Is there names or approaches, topic areas that are maybe high flying?
It's interesting. We have a lot of great talent on the platform, a lot of musicians, a lot of great entertainers. We find the streamers that do really well on YouNow are the ones that sort of are able to cross all those sort of genres. They may be a musician, they might just be a great personality, but the real key thing that they're able to do is connect with their audience and actually involve their audience in their stream. So our platform is not necessarily designed for a one-way broadcast where people are just watching you. It's specifically designed that you're involving people and you're bringing them onto the stage with you, and they're the streamers that we actually see do really well on our platform.
So if you put it together, it's very much around how do you get creators to create? Well, one is the platform, definitely the product that you've created. Then another is the personalization, the nudges, and then the feedback, right? This insight into how am I really doing? How can I do better? This is not about just sort of hanging out and doing our dance. I wouldn't ask you to do one, Rory, but conversations in a platform. Is it open to everyone? I'm just curious. Or is there I choose my audience, or I have a little bit of a way to bring them in or encourage them? I mean, It's not a free-for-all, that's for sure.
It's open to everyone. I mean, we do categorize our content, and the users have the ability to categorize themselves. So, if you are a musician, you can sort of try and live in that space. But we really encourage our streamers to just try a bit of everything and just sort of just be as open as possible.
Of course, you have to know when you've done it right. So what tells you if you've done it right? What helps you understand the performance of your campaigns?
Yeah, we have a number of different ways of measuring performance of different campaigns. So we have a data analyst team that really helps us analyze product features success. So that's more sort of looking at our internal data and understanding what's working and what's not. And then when it comes to our marketing and communication campaigns, we use CleverTap's analytics systems for that. So CleverTap is what we use for all of our internal communications with our users. And they offer a really great, pretty extensive analytical dashboard. So you can basically look at each of our campaigns and look at the conversion of those campaigns and understand what's working and what's not. And based on all that information, we can make decisions on what we need to change and what's going to come next.
Tell me a little bit about that journey, because you're able to see into what's working, what's not, but you're probably also able to understand like when it's working, because some people want to start out with push and then go to email, or, can you tell me something about how you sequence campaigns across your channels and what you've learned there?
Yeah, I think that like sort of sequencing across different channels is really effective, especially for those new users, as I mentioned earlier. When we're learning about a new user, we're not quite sure if they're more responsive to email or push, for example. So using a system like CleverTap, we can actually learn that pretty quickly. And if someone's not opening their email, we might follow up with a push notification, with information that we think is really important for them to receive.
So we know how you're approaching measuring performance, understanding what the user journey needs to be and the sequence of events. What have you actually seen for results?
Yeah, I mean, since integrating with CleverTap in 2020, we've seen about a 20% increase in our active usership. So just an incredible uplift there. And so, like I said, all those tools of being able to analyze what's working, what's not, has had a really great impact.
So I have to ask it because you're talking about what's working, what's not. And we do love learnings. Is there something you can share about what works or doesn't work in that sequence, in that journey? What have you learned? Maybe it's, don't use certain channels too often or mix them up in different ways.
What I've learned is, unfortunately, there's never a sort of one solution fits all. And it really depends on campaign to campaign. And while I wish it was that way, you've just got to constantly experiment and try new things. And, you need to have the tools to be able to learn if those experiments are working. But that's probably the biggest learning I've had.
Let's take a scenario. Let's play a little game. Let's imagine that it's all about acquiring new users. We talked about that, keeping those newly acquired users and getting them to do that action, create, get involved. Imagine for a moment a campaign where you have the feeling that you're losing their interest. How would you sort of bring back or win back? What might work there, for example, from what you've learned?
If you're seeing something is not working and you're starting to lose those users, you could potentially try a different channel. Maybe that's, why they're not responding, in the communications that you're trying to hit them with. So for example, if all your comms are going through email, and you're seeing a real low conversion rate, maybe it's time to try something else. So, we find push notification is really effective. Even in-app notifications can sometimes work really well too. So I think try something different on that front.
I want to get back to product, right? And talk about the social media app, that experience. What users expect from social, because we've seen hits like YouNow and some misses, not to name names, but like Clubhouse. So what does that tell us? What's going on in social media? What works?
I think the Clubhouse case is an interesting one. I think when it comes to Clubhouse, they had this explosion in early 2021. Partially helped by the pandemic, and I think a lot of social platforms saw a similar growth in traffic at that time. I think, potentially what they failed to do there was to sort of maintain that traffic and retain those users. As the world sort of opened back up and vaccines became available. I think audio is really great for like sharing of information, like podcasts and audio books. I think when it comes to like creating social connections with real people, it falls a little short. So I think that's certainly an observation that I've had. And not to say that there's not challenges with video, because there are definitely many, but that's something that I see. So I think more of a focus on video would be a trend that I would expect to continue to see happening.
Lovely segue, because I was going to ask you about trends, because you also can tell us something about regions as well, because you're a global app, right? YouNow is everywhere. You have users in many regions. Is there something you can tell me as a trend watcher, as a cool watcher, what you're thinking and saying, yep, I would place bets on that in 2022? I
think like regional is very interesting. And it's funny, I mentioned the audio only thing because for example, we have a lot of users in the Middle East and North Africa. Audio only streams are more popular there. Actually, there's people are less likely to want to show their face on camera. And so that's a real big challenge for us in how do we create a really engaging and interactive experience without video. So I think what's really interesting, and potentially a way that will ultimately solve that challenge is things like the metaverse and VR, and everyone's scrambling to work out what all that is and what that will mean. I think we may find the solution there.
Are you excited about the metaverse? I mean, are you like ramping up and saying, hey, this is going to be some cool stuff?
I'm excited by it. Absolutely. I think it's definitely cool stuff. I think time will tell. I think we're all really trying to understand it. And I think there's a lot of possibilities there, but time will tell.
Staying with the future, just for a moment, last question. What's next for you, perhaps personally and product, or YouNow as well, because it's all about, fueling more creation in the year ahead. What can we expect?
YouNow, we're really focused on our creators right now. Our goal is just to continuously make it easier and easier for our streamers to create content. And so we're doing that by offering, a suite of creator tools that will basically, be a range of tools where people can sort of just create new types of content. So an example of that is we've just released a giveaway tool. So that basically allows our streamers to host their own giveaways and contests within their streams through the platform. We're planning on rolling out more features along those lines in the coming months, and that's really our plan as we enter 2022. I'm
just thinking that's pretty cool. You're just imagining having your own contests and giveaways and quizzes and running your own show, literally. Cool idea, because we've seen some amazing apps. I saw, over 1 billion downloads for some apps because they let you draw better, for example. So it does indeed pay to give your users tools and to encourage that creation and engagement. Great story, Rory. Love to have you back maybe someday to give us an update. Thanks so much for sharing today on Mobile Presence.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
You've already got us so excited about YouNow. Some of our users may want to find out more or stay up in touch with you personally. Just what's the best way to do it?
You can find YouNow at younow.com. You can download our app from the App Store or Play Store. And you can find us on Twitter and all the major social networks.
And are you on your platform?
I am on my platform. You can find my user, which is Rory. I do occasionally stream and give updates on different features that we're planning on releasing. So come by and fan me up, and we'll see you soon.
Hey, there you go. And gift you there as well. It's the best thing. It is truly the best. I've heard this from so many different companies and marketers. When you do basically your own marketing and your own presentation, it's first of all, it's much more authentic, but it's also much more fun. So you got me wondering. I think I have to download and look for you there,
Sounds
Rory.
Good.
And thanks again, Rory. And of course, Rory has shared his journey, and to help marketers and organizations with insights and direction they need to drive customer connection and retention, CleverTap invites you to tune into CleverTap Engage. It's a lively bi-weekly video podcast that challenges convention and shines a light on CMOs at major brands achieving meaningful, memorable, and clever customer engagement. A little bit of disclosure here. I'm also the co-host at that show, and you can check it out and learn from the best. And it's all over for you over at the CleverTap playlist on YouTube. So check it out. And if you want to become a sponsor or a guest on Mobile Presence or find out more about the show, then email me, Peggy at mobilegroove.com is where you can also find my portfolio of content marketing and app marketing services. You can also check out this and all earlier episodes of our show by going to WMR.fm. Find our shows on Amazon, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio simply by searching Mobile Presence. And don't forget video, because now we are on YouTube, powered by my own brand, The Groove. So until next time, remember, every minute is mobile, so make every minute count. Keep well, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.